Welcome back to the Feisty Heroine podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, and I can't wait for you to hear parts of her story. Her name is Tina Tallqvist. She is a 49-year-old English teacher from Örebro, Sweden. Tina and I met over 20 years ago when I studied in her town for a year during college. Tina has dated a lot, but has for many years now chosen to get out of that circle. She's decided just to focus on herself and what makes her happy. Tina has a lot of different activities, and she'll talk about some of these in the episode. She loves to travel, reads, she sings in the choir, she's studying how to do better photography, she goes to theater, concerts, you name it. And on top of that, she's very dedicated to her job, as well as spending time with family and friends. So I'm very excited for you to hear this next episode. So let's get started. Hi, welcome everyone. I'm so grateful to have Tina here with us. Hey, Tina.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so grateful. For the listeners out there, it's been, I don't know the exact number, but we've definitely known each other for over 20 years. So it's been a long time. We actually met while I was studying abroad in Sweden. Tina's joining us from Sweden.
Yep.
So Tina, do you want to start off with just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, my name is Tina and I'm close to 50, living in Örebro, Sweden, and working as a teacher for a junior high school, English teacher.
Very admirable job. I remember whenever we would talk about education sometimes, because I used to be in education, but it's definitely a gift to be a longtime educator, and you've been doing this forever, right?
Well, yeah, I think I'm going up on 24 years now. So
Wow,
what happened? It just time flew by.
I know, it's crazy how that is, right? So the purpose of the Feisty Heroine is to kind of highlight stories of awesome, badass women living their best lives solo. So you are single, right?
Yep, probably about, more or less 14 years now, I think. Apart from a few dates and things like that, but yeah.
And so can you tell us a little bit about your journey and like when maybe your last relationship was?
My last relationship was, ended around 2010, I think. And it was not a good one. It was, part of it was. Because part of it showed me what I want to feel like, except he wasn't feeling that. So he was cheating on me instead and kind of living a bit of a double life. So it was a crappy relationship in that sense, but it still showed me kind of what I want to be, or what I wanted to have of a relationship, the good parts, and what I wanted to feel like. So for a few, like sometime after, once I healed and things like that, I really was kind of, dating and checking apps and things like that. But I had just ended up meeting really weird people. And it's just not, I know, and it didn't give me anything. And I kind of like, well, why am I looking? Is it because I should or because I really want to? And I was like, well, actually, I don't really want to. So I don't really need that.
Yeah. Like, I think it's interesting that you bring up the apps because I think like now there's starting to be like a little bit of backlash to them. Do you feel like you joined them and you went on dates because that was kind of like the expectation, society expectations, or?
I think in some way it was my expectations too. I always pictured myself, finding my guy and having kids and a family and things like that. But it just didn't really turn out like I pictured it. And for me, dating apps are not really my thing. Number one, I end up stumbling over quite a lot of cheaters. And that's not interesting. I wouldn't settle for anything. If I want a relationship, I want something that's worth it. And I didn't really feel that I would get that. Might have just been unlucky, I don't know. but it just wasn't really the thing. And for me, I'm also quite a logical person in a way. So when I was on dating apps, I ended up kind of just going through pros and cons, and not feeling anything. And I need that feeling. So I think if I would meet someone and they would basically have to kind of a bit hit me on the head so I would notice them. And sure, that would be nice, but it's not really something I need at the same time, because I kind of built my life up and figured out what do I want, what kind of life do I want to do or have, or what kind of life makes me happy. So I ended up kind of just like, why bother? Actually,
Right. I don't know about you, but I found that, and I speak about this a little bit in my own episode. Like, it actually made me feel worse. Like, it made, I don't know, it just caused me a little bit more anxiety. So I got off of dating apps probably like 4 years ago. And I just felt so much better.
it's a pressure in a way, because I always tend to kind of internalize and kind of it's my fault or something like that. And I was like, no, it's not. So I ended up like that in that way. No, if I'm going to meet someone, it's going to be face to face. And I would, be someone I would get to know like a normal way. And it's more my thing, in that sense, because I need to find that feeling if I want. Otherwise, I don't want it.
Well, and I found them very time consuming as well. Like, it would almost be just like all this writing back and forth and everything. And then it would just like I would never meet them, or like, or if I would meet them, it would be like immediately, it's like the date wouldn't even last very long. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to go have dinner by myself. Like it was just one of those things where I just found that it wasn't like a good use of my time.
I built quite a good circle of friends and things like that who like to do the same thing as me, both like family friends and well, like friends with families and single friends. And I kind of rather spend my time on them instead, or doing things I like to do, because that gives me more of a positive energy.
No, I totally agree. I think it's really important to highlight that. And I think that's what we'll probably spend like the majority of the conversation talking about. I think I have one further question about kind of like society pressure. Like, did you ever feel like people would ask you questions about like having children or getting married or different things like that?
Yeah, of course, especially in the beginning. Like now I'm closer to 50, so actually I get rid of those. They don't really ask me anymore. Probably because it's too sensitive or something.
It's kind of freedom though.
Yeah, it is. Because it is also quite hard, because I mean, in the beginning I would get more of kind of, well, don't you want a family or kids or things like that. But at the same time, I've been quite calm in myself. I always expected myself to have kids and family, but I wanted it the right way, at least to start out the right way. There's no, of course, never a guarantee. But I've had friends who are like, well, you can just go to like Denmark and get them, if you want kids. And I have acquaintances who've done that. But at the same time, I work with kids, and I know it's really difficult to kind of be a single parent.
Right.
And I don't think I would be a good single mom in that way. If I would, I mean, I have great family and I would have a lot of support. So it's not bad, but it's just that I don't want to start like that. And also, I have a younger sister. I have 3 kids, so I know my parents have grandchildren already. So in that sense, because I wanted them to have grandkids, and in that way, I can kind of it relieves pressure. I don't need to kind of fulfill that. They would never say anything about it, because they would never pressure me to do anything like that. But I want them to have grandkids, and now they have. So then I don't have to worry about that. And I don't need kids to kind of fulfill me. I'd rather spoil my nieces and nephew. And I have a godson as well and things like that. So I think I'd rather focus on them, and then have kids on my own. I don't need that to kind of be who I am. And in that sense, I think it is maybe more common in Sweden to choose to live a single life than America in a way. And also quite a lot of Americans are quite Christian. So in that sense, also, if you're in a Christian community, of course, the pressure would be more. I mean, my parents are not. It was my grandma, but she died when I was younger. Otherwise, we're not like a religious family in that sense. So I would never have that kind of expectations of what I should do with my life.
That is interesting. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up because I remember when I was in Sweden, that was like the first because I grew up in a really conservative area in the US and I remember being there and hearing about like people living in Sambo and I remember there was a couple that were having a baby and they just lived together and I was like, "What? Like what is this?" But it's a little bit more normal there and yeah.
I'm not sure I would get married even if I would have a partner and like have that kind of thing. My sister is married, but I mean, it doesn't for me. It's not the main thing to get married. Kind of, it doesn't really matter. I might as well have my family. I think I was 4 when my parents got married.
Oh wow.
So in that sense, I'm a legit, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, but it's more normal over there. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I think if I would find someone now, I'd probably be not even Sambo. Sambo is kind of living but not together but not being married. I might not even be that. I might be something we call Sadbo, which is kind of living apart but still dating.
Oh.
So you have your own place.
Oh. That sounds wonderful.
So because then I would have my space and he would have his space, and especially if he would have kids. In that sense, that would be a good way of kind of still have your own things and kind of, yeah,
What's that called?
Sarbo, kind of to be apart, but still living kind of, yeah, being together. Bo is to live together, yeah.
Oh, for the listeners, Sweden has all these amazing words that we don't have in the US, like
Yeah.
fika and different things that describe these wonderful life choices and life moments.
Well, you heard about the latte dads, right?
No.
Latte dads are usually like, because we have quite a lot of, like, we have a long parental leave. And part of that parental leave actually has to be used by the dad or, well, the other partner. And so it's quite common to see dads out with strollers and meeting up for cafes and having a latte, when they're on paternity leave. So, and for a lot in America, that is a different thing.
I do remember seeing that. Well, I think in the US, it's just starting, to have like a little bit of for fathers to have leave, but I think it's definitely still not normalized, and I think that's another reason why, like, women, there's just so much pressure for, women in the US still to do the majority of the childcare and all of that, so if we could maybe circle back to I think you had made a really interesting point, and since I used to be an educator as well, like, if I think it's interesting when you're an educator and you don't have your own children because I think you see a lot. And you mentioned like maybe not wanting to be, a single mom and things like that. And maybe if you could touch a little bit on that of like when you see a lot of children and family dynamics and things like that and how that changes your perspective.
Of course, I see a lot of all kinds of dynamics in that sense. And some of them are doing just fine. And, but there's that thing of, for me, I tend to work quite a lot, which I of course, wouldn't be able to if I had kids. But I love my job as well. And kind of that kind of being torn apart with focusing on your kid, but, then having enough energy when you come home so you can kind of be present and be there. It's not really the easiest thing, but you also see quite a lot of, parents who kind of never get along. You can't even be in the same room or kind of, and that toll it takes on the kids, it's not always the best thing. So, but then of course, I see those who do it just fine. So I'd say quite a lot, like most families have separated in like for kids in classes. I'd say the majority have one or a split parents, divorced. So it's quite common.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good perspective. I think I used to get a lot of questions about, whether or not I had my own children when I worked in education. I was like, no, but I feel like I've helped raise thousands of kids at this point. So, not that I'm an expert in any way because I haven't lived the day to day, but I've seen a lot of different situations. I've seen a lot of, so I never felt like it discounted my work in education because I didn't have my own children, you know?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely not. In some ways, you get a different perspective because the parents might have the teenage fighting and, the kind of rebellion. And I can see the kind of the other parts, when they try to kind of just be so grown up and everything. And they just want to come and tell a teacher about something they did during the weekend, or
Right.
it's really kind of, I see both the kid part and the young adult part, and that's as well as kind of their sadness and things they might be embarrassed to talk to the parents about, or it might be easier to talk to me about, or yeah. So get a bit of everything.
Well, if we could maybe then transition to, because I've, as I mentioned, I've followed you. We've been friends for 20 years, and I, see you on Instagram and Facebook, and I think I've recently come to the realization that you came to like years ago. That you can live this awesome solo life. So, can you talk a little bit about your transition into that, like kind of ending of your last relationship, and then how you kind of transitioned to this solo badass Tina that does all these things on her own.
At first, it's that part that's kind of, it's scary to be on your own, to do things, kind of going out for dinners and going to the movies and whatever. And I started putting myself in those situations. I actually started mostly hanging out at cafes, writing in my journal, because I needed kind of to if I put my thoughts into words in a journal, it kind of was easier to kind of and focus on what I'm actually feeling, what I'm actually thinking. So it's been a process in kind of finding myself and who am I actually, because I've been in a lot of relationships and since I was quite young, and I kind of like I'm always trying to adapt, and I'm like, well, who am I? Um, and then I would see you'd see on social media, I had friends who went to the theater and things like that, or musicals and concerts, and I'm like, I want to do that. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh, well, why am I not doing that? Kind of, why am I just sitting here complaining about it? What's stopping me? I might not have I might not have a friend who wants to do that right now, but does that mean that I can't do it? No, no. So I ended up kind of, and I'm posting things. So sometimes I'm asking, I'm going to this concert. I already got tickets. Who want to join me? Uh, and sometimes I just buy 2 tickets. I got some tickets this summer now that for Ed Sheeran coming next year, and I bought 2 tickets because it's seats. So of course it's not just easy. But if I don't get anyone, I have some nieces and nephew might want to join me, and they would be thrilled to get. So I start to kind of book theater subscriptions and those kind of things that I wanted to do. And then I'm just doing them. And I get a lot of comments from people on social media, or like friends of mine who see my social media kind of, because of course I'm trying to post things. And if it's something good, or I find a really cute cafe or something like that, I want to kind of help them get more customers as well. So I'm writing about it, and kind of taking pictures and things like that. So it might look like I'm doing quite a lot of things. And if you're family with young children, you can't really do that because you're not I mean, you need to focus on your family, and that's normal. But they almost get like a bit jealous in a way. And I was like, yeah, but have you thought about that? I don't have that, cozy night, Friday night with dinner and cuddle with the kids and a movie. No, I don't do that. I don't have that family things. So these are kind of the things that make me happy. And instead of me just kind of scrolling and being jealous of people, why should I? I figure out what I want to do and I actually do it. I booked a
I'm
trip
glad you brought
to
that up.
I booked a trip to the north of Sweden for a photo excursion, or for the course actually, for photography, because I like it. And I went up on my own, and people were like, "Oh, you're so brave." And I was like, "What's brave about that? Yeah, I don't know anyone, but I will get to know them." And I did, and I had a great time. I don't know, I just do it.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but when I go solo, I actually meet amazing people because I think when I'm traveling with someone else or even like when I go out to dinner by myself, I did that a lot in New York. Like I just met really great people because you were alone and you just started up conversations with people. Have you found the same? Like when you travel to northern Sweden and different things, you're more open to the meeting. Yeah.
Well, yeah, so if you're in that kind of situation, for sure. I've done a bit of traveling on my own, but then I don't really like, haven't really traveled that much. I would join a group, but then I would do like a pre-booked one. And for me, it doesn't matter if there are couples or singles on the trip. It doesn't really matter because I get to know the people anyway. And it depends on how much I want to plan, how much work I want to do for the trip. Usually being in school, if I want to do, like, I went to Uganda for a while, like quite a few years back, and some trekking, and I like taking pictures and things like that. But then it's really good to be kind of with a group, so you have good guides and safety wise, you never know. So in that sense, I chose to go with the group arrangement. But I didn't know anyone else in the group. But that doesn't stop me. I can still, I will get to know them. And if you book a trip to Uganda, you're bound to have something in common, with people. So that doesn't really worry me because I get to know people.
Yeah. Well, I still consider that solo travel because I think like often we think of like solo travel as just going off by yourself. But once I got divorced, I took a lot of trips with G Adventures. That's actually, and it was like, there were couples and there were single people and I've met so many great people, that way. And usually it is good because you have something in common. So you already have things to talk about with them. So it makes it and it is a bit safer.
It's also a special type of personality for people who choose to go on trips like that. You need to be open minded, otherwise you wouldn't book it. So it's really like same thing with the photography course, for example. You are there for a reason, and you wouldn't really book it if you weren't open to kind of learning new things or meeting new people. So I think that's also why it doesn't scare me, because I know I'll always find someone I get along with.
Right. Yeah, you're very easy to get along with. So yeah. I want to circle back to you mentioned something about because I've actually had this experience as well. Usually from sometimes from like people that are in marriages or relationships that they're not very happy in. But you mentioned something about like people being jealous of you, and I think if you could talk a little bit about that because I think yeah, like even on Instagram, I know you as a friend that like you're out there doing all these amazing things, and I think it's interesting you know, that people mentioned that they were jealous. So if you could talk a little bit about that.
Well, it's. I mean, they would probably not use the word jealous himself, but I
Maybe
can hear
not,
it in
yeah.
the voice in a way. But it's kind of, oh, I wish I could do more of that, and yeah, yeah. But you wouldn't really wish to not have your family. But they are not really. I mean, they're not always aware of that. They don't really like think about it. What the social media do, because I mean, social media paints a picture, and of course, I choose what I want to post and you choose what you want to post. So if you have a family and you have this really cute picture, you might have been in a huge fight with the kids or yelling and, just before or after the picture. And that's normal, but you need to I think it's really interesting to kind of reflect. What do we post, and what does this do to other people as well? And when I say, well, yeah, but my things are, I need to figure out what I like, what makes me feel good, and then I do it. And you have the same thing, but you do it with your family, and you have the family things. But of course, I mean, especially if you have younger kids, of course, it's really tough. It takes a lot of energy, and you're usually not sleeping very much, and it's really a tough life. So of course, if you see me going out, having dinner or going to a play or a concert, you wish you could do that too, because it's something maybe you did before kids. But you wouldn't really swap that life because you chose it. So I would say, but of course, well, some would like to swap it, but not maybe swap the kids, but the situation, because it's tiring, and it's always easier to want what you don't have, kind of, in a way. But just to kind of be aware of well, yeah, but why do you think I do my things? This is my meaning. This is what makes me going. This is what makes me happy, and I'm having a great time. So I mean, but it's not everyone is thinking about what it is, or why do you think I post and have fun? Why do I think I have time for these things? Well, because I don't have a family. So of course I have more time. I can do what I want.
Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head with that. I think whenever I would have those conversations with friends, I think what would come up is they were missing the freedom,
Yeah.
like the freedom and independence that I had, because they no longer had that, because they all had children, they were married, maybe going through a separation. And I was like, and I think on the other side, it was like, oh, the grass is, yeah, I think I used to think this. I used to think, oh, my response to them used to be, oh, but look what you have. I don't have that, and now I'm like, I just kind of listen and I'm like, oh, yeah, I do have a pretty great life, because I think that I
Yeah.
kind of turn the corner that you have of, I love my life. And I think it's going to, take somebody really special to make me give up my freedom that I fought for.
No, but it's really nice, and kind of, and once you get to that part, it's like, well, I feel good, and I don't really care what you think about it. I feel great. And I'm still open. Like, sure, if the right guy would come by, I wouldn't mind meeting up, but you'd have to be pretty darn good. Otherwise, it's just not worth it. But I don't exclude if, you never know. But I don't need that to kind of be me. I don't need that to be happy. And I think
Yeah.
that's the main thing for me.
Right.
If that could make me happy as well, then fine. But I don't need another person. My happiness does not depend on another person.
That's such a great point. And I think, I think that's the difference of turning the corner of like being single and searching versus like single and happy, or single and, being open to a relationship and not needing it. Because I think that there's still a lot of people that are single and searching. And I remember when I was in that kind of mode, probably like even 3 years ago, and I was like, I just, had a moment where I was like, no, I'm not going to do this anymore because it's like, it was just driving me nuts, and I was like, you only get one life, this one beautiful life. And it's like, that just wasn't how I wanted to spend my time anymore, searching for this person that was supposed to complete me and make my life happy, So it sounds like, you came to this realization pretty young, whenever you realized that, no, I'm happy on my own. I'm complete on my own.
Yeah. No, but it's really like that thing of, I don't need to run into another relationship just to be in a relationship. And I don't want to, like, why should I change? If there's something that's, well, if you don't like who I am, then I don't need you. Of course, I mean, it's really like everything is about uh, kind of matching your things, but you need to like the core me. Otherwise, I wouldn't really spend the time hiding something or fixing something, or if you don't like me being overweight, well, then I'm sorry, that's your problem. I like me, and in order for me to find someone, if you like me, fine, then we can see what we want to do, and then we can, adjust things if we need to. But I'm not gonna change me. And when I tried to date, it was more of kind of, yeah, I tried to kind of fit in, and I don't want to do that. I like me. I don't want to compromise on me.
I literally have goosebumps right now just from you saying that phrase, I like me. And I think that's so important and so powerful. And I can't even imagine how many women that you're going to touch just with this episode because I think that's the root of it. I think a lot of people don't really like themselves, and I think that's why they search for someone else, to think that that's going to bring them happiness, or that they're going to then like themselves or their life. And I think that, yeah, I literally got goosebumps with you just saying that. So,
But I've been there. That was me also. I mean, before, and then I just, I don't want to have that. I want to like me. So what do I need to do to make me happy?
right.
And I just started doing that. But of course, I mean, it's a process. It's taken me years.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that. I think, so I like to ask a couple questions at every episode. And I think we're kind of touching on some of those. Like one of the ones I like to ask is kind of related to, I think whenever I'm having conversations or just in society in general, people are, it's like, you're scrolling through your feed and it's like, oh, so and so's getting married, so and so is having a baby. And there's all these accomplishments that are laid out from society for, checking these boxes. But I find that like as a single person, like starting your own business or writing a book or like all these other things. I know you do some singing. Like, what are three things that you're really proud of that maybe you don't know if you would have accomplished, right? If you would have gone the other path of married, having children, like what are three things that you're really proud of that, you hope other people, or three things that you celebrate, like as a single woman?
Well, I mean, for me, the realization that I went to when kind of, starting to, I'm not going to be a victim or kind of waiting for someone to fix my life. And kind of, I'll just start doing the things I want to do. I think that's one of my, but I can't really say it's not a specific time, but that is one of the important kind of wake up calls for me. Uh, to kind of actually do a bit of soul searching and trying to figure out what I want to do. But otherwise, for me, I love singing, but I'm really like a kind of a choir person. I never thought I had a good enough voice or things like that to do solo things, but I'm okay for choir, and it makes me really happy. But then I started taking, a friend of mine asked me to join in a summer class, and we went to, it's like kind of a university style. It's called Folkhögskola in Sweden, and it's they basically have week-long summer classes, and this one was for singing improvisations, and it turned out to be a lot more kind of solo work. And I'm a logical person. I'm really crap at, sorry for the wording, but I'm really bad at improvisations. But that also kind of, I realized, well, I could still do it. I don't really necessarily do the best ones, but I can still come up with things. I can still do it. And it made me kind of take another step and kind of realize that, well, actually, this kind of doing scary things that are out of my comfort zone, it gives me a lot of things, and it makes my brain start working and kind of figuring out what happens to me, and it's challenged me. So I keep doing that, like I've been like 5 summers in a row, well, except for COVID break, but it's really, I just keep on going because it's so rewarding. And that's also it kind of pushes me to start other things, like the photography thing. I love photography, but I wanted to learn more. Yeah, but then why not do a class? And that's really like a lot of fun. And that kind of putting myself in situations where I might be uncomfortable, and kind of not running the other way, but kind of checking out and we'll see what happens. That's really important for me. And it's almost like, I don't know, it gives me something. So I'm almost searching for it now. It's like, this is weird. This is scary. I might try. And it kind of opened up a lot of doors as well, because you meet even more people, and you kind of, I don't know, it makes me grow. And I mean, even though if I'm soon 50, I still want to grow. I don't want to stop. I want to challenge myself. Those are kind of things that are important for me.
Yeah. And I mean, you're developing your skills and just like, I don't see necessarily people in couples doing that as much. I think like,
No.
because I think sometimes like you have the other person stopping you or you don't have the time or like the other person's judging you. Like I've even seen that with my own family, like, starting my own company that they like just don't understand that, or like, so it's just like surrounding yourself with people that encourage this growth. And I love seeing your photography on Instagram, like your nature pictures. I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm back in Sweden. It's so wonderful. And it sounds like you're learning a lot about yourself.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, well, I am. And it's kind of, once you started pushing yourself a bit more, and kind of, it's just really such a great feeling.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. It's hard to explain, but it just, I don't know, it does something for me. It's just, it feels great.
So the second question, and I think you touched on this, and because what I'm trying to do with these conversations and hopefully inspire women listening is talking about a heroine moment, which means that moment when you just kind of came to a realization that, this is my life, this is my one life, and I'm going to kind of save myself. And I think you touched on it a little bit. If we could circle back, the realization after your relationship and when you started going to things on your own, would you say that's kind of your, not, we have multiple heroine moments, but
Yeah, well, that kind of thing of going from kind of sitting there complaining about my life not being the way I wanted it to actually, well, what is stopping me? And then actually started booking. But it's not really a moment, but it's more of a realization that, oh, wait a second, now I'm actually doing it, and other people who are complaining about their life are kind of, seeing that I'm doing things. So I kind of realized, well, actually, I'm one of those now who actually do things. So for me personally, it's more of my hero kind of moment in that sense, because it gives me control of my life, and kind of, being a kind of that kind of complainer or something. It's not really fun. And now I'm having fun instead. So
yeah, and I think we get tied to this idea of what our life is supposed to look like,
exactly.
right? Because that's the only storyline we've been told. And I think that's my hope with this too, is just highlighting all of these other wonderful stories out there of women just living their best lives and living in a different way. And I think hopefully more women can feel empowered to do that, and kind of then with our kind of that segues into the last question. And you've touched on this a little bit already. So, but I think just words of advice that you have for women out there who are maybe struggling with being single, maybe they're newly single, maybe they're in a bad relationship and they kind of are thinking that maybe, it might be better being single. Like, what are some things that you would say to them?
Try to listen to yourself. which is easier said than done sometimes. And it takes quite a lot of kind of soul searching in a way of actually kind of what do I like to do and trying out different things to see what I like to do. But kind of the things you like to do more of that because it makes you happier in a way. And if you're scared to do it on your own, well, I'll ask friends to join you at first. But kind of do small steps. You don't have to kind of go on a solo trip first thing you do.
Right. That's such good advice.
You could do smaller things. I mean, just going to the movie and see what it feels like to be on your own, or to a cafe and just watch people. I mean, when I was a lot at a cafe, the owner was convinced I was on the verge of becoming an author or something like that. I was like, no, I'm kind of just writing my private journal. This is never going to be published. I'm like, well, I'm not sure. Can I remember to mention me when when you get famous? I was like, yeah, right.
You never know. That's awesome.
But you kind of, I don't know. It's just small steps. And kind of don't push yourself until you're ready. I mean, you need to be ready. And if you're uncertain of what to do with your life, well, try something small and see what it feels like. And if it feels good, do more of it. Because it's really getting like leaving a relationship. I mean, that's not easy. But at the same time, you should not take crap too much. I mean, don't let people step on you. So in that sense, you need to kind of feel what you're capable of doing. And that's different for everyone. And I can't really sit here and say what to do, but kind of that, try to listen for who are you? What kind of things do you like to do? What makes you happy? Try to start there, do baby steps, and try out if you're not sure. Because at first I wasn't sure what makes me happy. I just ended up trying different things.
Yeah, and I think even if people are in a relationship, I think, that's important to do, and I think because it's so easy to lose yourself. Doesn't matter how strong of a person you are, I think you lose a little bit of yourself in any relationship, friendship, family, different things. And um, I like that. Like just take a class or, start a dance class or voice lessons, like you said, or photography, or just discover more about yourself.
You just go to a play or a theater or whatever you like to do.
Well, I want to make sure I'm respectful of your time. I think there was so much jam packed in this episode. I'm so excited for everyone to listen to it. And again, I think what sums it up is, I like me. And I think that so powerful. I feel so grateful to have you in my life, and you've been such an inspiration to me. And it's taken me a little bit longer to get to where you are. And but I know when I reached out to you, I was like, Tina, I've made it.
So happy for you.
I know. Me too. So but I'm very grateful. You've been such an inspiration to me. So
Well, it goes both ways, you know that.
yeah. Yeah. But I'm really excited, and I hope this, episode reaches the women that need to hear it. And but yeah, so I just wanna thank you again for joining me, and we'll talk again soon. And maybe who knows, maybe you'll be on another episode. So if you want to.
You never know.
Yeah. All right, Tina. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.